she thought these beings were? Did she think? Did she think they came with the?
Well,
Extraterrestrial?
the only remark that she ever made was that they definitely weren't humans as we know humans, but they could be from another planet. Or the doctors were explaining this, that they couldn't be from our planet. They had to be an alien, or had to be something else, but not in our planet.
She had a phrase she used to describe how they looked to her. You remember that? You were telling me? Like little black Chinamen?
Well, she said that, well, of course they were, first thing she said, they were black. They were just as black as they could be, but probably laying out in the elements in July in Roswell with 105 to 110 temperature every day and 80 degrees or so at night. I mean, that wouldn't be uncommon, because we picked up a lot of sheep herders of people that have been found dead that's laying in the desert, for days and bitten by rattlesnakes or whatever. And they do turn, as black as they can. And I know exactly what they were talking about, because, with the smell and the odor being so drastic, because this is a very unpleasant situation, And
Let's talk about their eyes. How did she describe their eyes?
well, she said that, of course, their eyes were set back into the skull. Oh, and it was I thought it was interesting also that she said their skulls, the doctor said their skull bone structure wasn't like ours. It wasn't actually a bone. It was probably a real heavy cartilage. It looked more or less like a newborn baby. The skull was very pliable. You could mash on the skull and it would, it would give. And so the bone structure, it wasn't bones.
Little black Chinaman. So you saying aliens were just Blasians this whole time? It's kind of crazy to me when I think about it out loud. Like, I don't know. That is just a funny thing. It's hilarious. But on a more serious note, I was digging around because I was thinking, I used to be like obsessed with aliens, bro. I remember when I was like a kid in high school, and I was high as shit one day. It's when I first started smoking weed. And I get to thinking to myself, like, about the universe and all that type stuff. That's a whole nother video for another day. But then it led me down the path of, man, there ain't no way we the first ones that was made here. They're like, the stars is old as hell. And then space is a whole nother conundrum. What was there? So you saying there was just blackness. What made the blackness, you feel me? Was it just blank? Was it white? Like, what was it? What was going on here? I was thinking about those type stuff. Like, I was thinking about all those type stuff. It was a conundrum. It was hurting my head. But it kind of came back to me because I was looking through YouTube and whatnot. The podcasts, endless podcasts nowadays, they be running into people that have these angelic views on aliens and things of the sorts. And they have like these interactions and introspective, like total different views that we've never seen before. Like, they've really been there. And I'm not gonna lie, the more I look into this, it kind of feels like something is afoot. I always felt like there was aliens though, because when you do the math, like, I'm not a mathematician, but I've always been kind of good with numbers. And like the amount of stars, we're talking about millions, probably billions of stars. And then stars have planets that surround them. And those planets that surround them also have a solar system like ours, more than not. It kind of gets, it's like there should be somebody out there. And if there's not somebody out there, that might be even more scary. I know that's a theory. Yeah, that's some type of theory. But we're going to get into this one. The guy called Wes Glenn Davis, right? So Wes Glenn Davis was this guy. He went to Roswell High School. And Roswell High School, I don't know where the hell that is. But Roswell was nothing before like a couple years ago. When did Roswell happen? Like, shit. When did Roswell happen? 1947. All right. So July 1947. You see, I'm doing this off the off the shitter for I just want to chat with somebody about this shit. So July 1947 is when Roswell happened. That's strange. When was NASA created? When was NASA created?
July 29th, 1958, United States.
Look, I don't believe in coincidences, and that is another red herring right there, a red fucking flag, if you ask me. But let's get into another theory. So this guy, Wes Glenn Davis, he went to Roswell High School, and he was just a normal Nevada guy. He moved over there to Nevada, and he ended up getting a part-time job at a mortuary, right? Just some regular shit, you know, filling bodies with embalming fluid, letting them blow up and put them in the dirt type stuff. But this mortuary, it was tied in with the government. It was military services. You know, government like to get their little deals, you know, close facilities or businesses. You know how they like to do. So, yeah, he was working there just a regular day until July 1948 or whatever. Whatever was on there. Until that day, the Roswell day. The military men, they just came in, they just rushed in there, and they just told him like, yeah, we got something new for you today. Do you have anything that could fit inside a 3-foot what's that shit? Casket. Yeah, 3-foot casket. Do you have anything that can fit inside a 3-foot casket? What's your smallest casket? What you got? Smaller than like for kids and toddlers. It's strange coming from the military people, because why does the military need like a casket that's the size for like, you know, the youngsters? It's kind of morbid thinking. But he's like, yeah, I got a casket for you. I got a 3-foot 6-inch casket. And they're asking them for all types of specifications and whatnot. And I guess they just took the casket and they told him you can't look at what's going inside of it either. Even though he is the mortuary person, which is another red flag. It's weird. It's definitely weird to say the least. So then he just goes on about his business. He goes home. But then they call him and they say, yeah, you gotta go help somebody, some Air Force person. He's on the brink of death or something like that. Go stitch him up. So he goes to go stitch him up, go help dude out. As soon as he gets over there, right, it's like, boom. He sees this old chick he used to work with. He like, yeah, how you been? What's going on? Like, what's going on? Just been weird today. You know, the boss acted strange. So then that's what Shawty tell him. The girl, she like, yeah, man, it's been crazy. I don't know if I can tell you, but it's things I've never seen before happening. I'm seeing little black Chinamen, and she really talk about aliens. She see some strange things. She also told him to steer clear of the higher ups, dolls, the generals, and he was taken aback. He like, what you mean, little black Chinaman? Like, I ain't never seen that before. This is 1948. So then that's what he's like, book me for a date tomorrow. So he booked her for a little lunch date or whatever just to get more information. That's when they get to talking and whatnot. She said, yeah, there were these little beings and whatnot. Their eyes were in the back of their head, basically, like implanted in their head. Like, you know, really skinny people, how they look like, something like that. And she said they had no teeth, bruh. They had no teeth. And they look weird, just strange. They were 3 feet tall. They look very nimble and weak, feeble little creatures. You know what I'm saying? Like our biome, our little genetic construct, like we'd probably demolish them in hand-to-hand combat. But that was probably one of the biggest red flags for him right there, because he never seen nothing like that. Nobody's ever seen nothing like that. She said that the animals or the aliens' hands were so fickle and weak that it looked like it just snapped. And this is coming from a woman. Nothing against women, I'm just saying, but like, come on, right? Like, a woman say you look like you could just snap and break into the wind. You gotta be looking feeble. So that's neither here nor there. That's just a natural human reflex. But she actually tells him, like, she can't keep talking about this. You know, she gave him that brief, yeah, we got to keep it moving, keep it pushing. And she just abruptly leaves. So he tries to book another date, book another lunch date, and she wasn't having it. And then she coincidentally ended up moving stations and whatnot. So she moved stations, and then he still tried to contact her. He hot on the case, you know what I'm saying? He hot on the case, still trying to contact her. And this is 1948. I don't even know if they had phones and shit. They probably did though. But he was, on that little oh shit. Hey, is Nancy there? But yeah, he called and shit. Wasn't getting no answer. He ended up getting a letter from one of his pal mates, one of his what's that shit called? Pen pals in London. So he ended up getting a letter from one of his little pen pals in London. The pen pal in London, he seen something on there. It was like a newspaper thing. And the lady that he was, getting all that information from, she mysteriously passed away on the plane, with 5 other nurses. I mean, it's not like we haven't experienced things like that with the doctors and stuff just mysteriously going away on planes and lawyers and all types of high stakes people. But that's neither here nor there. That's just another coincidence that's been happening for nearly 100 years now. At this point, who knows? I don't know. That's weird though, right? That's strange. But yeah, she ended up passing away in the plane crash, which is sad for that. Rest in peace. So then he was scared to even talk about it. It took dude 40 years to talk about it. He ended up he talked about it like a little bit after that incident where he passed away because he was so scared that he wasn't going he was so scared that he was going to die with that information, and they knew that he was digging into it, that he told his father, and his dad didn't even tell nobody. He told his father and this nuclear physicist and ufologist named like some Freeman. This is gonna be a series, all right? So bear with me, and I'm new at this little shindig, all right? So he met this little nuclear physicist and a ufologist, and he told his dad. He told both of those people. Then for 40 years, it took them 40 years, the story gets released on the National Archives, right, and whatnot. And I think that just gives us way more questions than answers, because 14 years later, NASA comes about, and I almost forgot this part. At the end, when he got called into the station, when he was walking in before he met that lady, he said that there was Egyptian hieroglyphics on the wreckage. He seen the wreckage outside of the building. He said the wreckage was about 3 feet in length, in the shape of like a ruptured canoe. That's weird. It's really weird. You know what I'm saying? It's strange, isn't it?
Words.
Now, as I understand it, we have to go back to 1961 to start this whole incident, don't we?
Yes, that's right. September 19th, 1961.
The night that changed their lives forever.
When we, traveling south on Route 3, arrived in an area called Lancaster, New Hampshire, Betty called my attention to an object or a star that she had been watching.
As I was watching, this star seemed to be getting larger and brighter. And as we rode along, I kept watching it, and then all of a sudden, I noticed that it had started to move. And we decided to stop, get out of the couch, and take a look at it.
I told her that it was probably a satellite. Nothing to get alarmed about.
Betty had never seen a satellite before. She knew that her...
So we got Betty and Barney Hill. They was just chilling, coming home from Niagara Falls, doing their thing, living life. And this is in 1961. This is before any any thought of government exploitation of technology, using hidden technology that the public wasn't aware of. This is before all of those things, or at least before this was a big topic, shall I say. And this is the first abduction in the United States of America that's been documented. Okay, it's the couple, they riding around on the highway, they stop somewhere, catch the scenery, look around, the views and memories and whatnot. And they see a fireball or like a bright light just hurling at them at extreme racist speed. And the bright light's coming at him. Dude tells his girl, he like, bro, let's hop in the whip, let's go. Like, he's scared, he's nicked. I don't blame him. I'd be nicked too. So it's coming at him at extreme racist speed. And in the process of them leaving, they get on the highway. They're going, probably like 60, 70 in one of them old cars, old Cadillac or something. I don't know why he thought they was going to be able to escape if the thing was following them. But the thing catch up to him. And it's doing like maneuvers in the air they never seen before. It's going this way, that way, like frontwards, backwards. It's doing all types of party tricks on them. And then it stops. It comes around in front of them and it stops. And then that's when it shines the iconic light on them. You know what I'm talking about? The iconic light from the cartoons when they suck you into the ship. So they put that light on, they bring them into the ship, and then they work on them. They do little tinkering and tackering. Is this real? I'm like 50-50 on it. 60-40 probably. I used to think like heavily that like aliens and UFOs are a real possibility, which I still do believe. But in recent times, I came to the conclusion that we're dealing with a big gumbo pot of information and disinformation. So we gotta like pick through the weeds type. So in that process, I've come to the conclusion that it probably happened in the sort, unless they're government affiliates or agents, which that's a possibility too. But this is the beginning of the abductions. And then 8 years down the line, we have somebody called J. Allen Hynek, right? He's an astronomer, and he worked with Project Blue Book with the government. He helped the government in their little escapades of uncovering UFOs and stuff. He's one of the people that created the term of contact and different types of contact with telekinesis and the contact that they did with the earth, physical manipulation of our environment, shall I say, like, burn marks from the ship, things like that, direct contact and conversation, or seeing the beings themselves. And this is from the government. This was 8 years after Betty and Bonnie Clyde. So with saying that, this being 8 years after, it does come to the theory of it might be real. Because the government, they like to invest their money into things that they feel like they can, like, get some return on investment on. Sometimes, or they're like, investing on monkeys doing drugs, hard drugs, something stupid. Or giving frogs unnatural sexual urges, those type of things. But all of that aside, most of the time they spend their money on things that they could get some type of return on. So that means that there's real live, there's something under this rock. There's something under this stone. So it probably is real. Probably.
Washington, D.C., December 1969. The United States government suddenly terminates Project Blue Book, the Air Force investigation into claims of UFO sightings and contact with extraterrestrials. Though more than 12,000 reports were investigated over a span of 20 years, the government publicly concluded that most cases were misunderstood natural phenomena. But inside the organization, Project Blue Book astronomer J. Allen Hynek had been creating a system of classifying the data he believed provided scientific evidence of alien encounters.
Hynek was actively
We got J. Allen Hynek, the guy who helped the government uncover some things about UFOs. He spent years researching it. And he's here in the picture with Neil Armstrong. They was off the west coast of Africa, going to go uncover some more stuff. They came there to look at a total eclipse. J. Allen Hynek was into eclipses. You know who else was into eclipses? The guys who made NASA. And the guys who made NASA were tied in with Aleister Crowley. And that's like a whole nother can of worms. But yeah. So who knows why he was into eclipses for real? I seen a video where his son said his father was born on the eclipse. And something like that. But he was in the eclipses, so he might have been rolling with those type of people, doing those types of things. Who knows? The ship he was on was full of like high-class scientists. That's why Neil Armstrong was there. And the conversation that supposedly sprung up between him and Neil Armstrong is a mission to uncover more information on UFOs. So that does prove validity to the claims of this whole alien conundrum. And this is all before I believe the government had the capability to like make a UFO. I know they got the capability now. At least I'm pretty sure. I'm like 70% sure now.
There was an oil rig engineer in the North Sea, maybe it might have been the Black Sea, that sketched it out. And Bill Sweetman, this Jane's Defense Weekly aviation journalist, picked that story up.
What did he describe it as?
This kind of, it was a triangle similar to the B-2, but I think more narrow, and it just flew incredibly fast, like faster than the F-117, and yeah, I don't know. It was just super advanced.
Can you envision? Would it be actually possible in 1988 to? Could you imagine that the United States would possess some sort of actual technology that's not back engineered, that's not from another world, that is what Lazar described?
It's funny you should ask that. Yes, I do.
Yes, really?
Yes, and that's not to say I don't want to again pour cold water on the like UFO crash retrieval stuff, because I think there's a lot of interesting evidence there. But is there a tech tree that involves anti-gravity? Absolutely, in the U.S. And I can trace it all the way back to this guy named Thomas Townsend Brown. So if we were to be talking in front of any academic physicist right now, they would laugh at us. They'd be like, "You're crazy." If we were to talk amongst any aerospace graybeard who is at a certain level, I think they'd give you a little wink and a smile. And they'd say, okay, like maybe there's something there. And so the nominal history is that we have never been able, we don't have exotic propulsion principles. Like everything is, chemical combustion, essentially. You had Elon Musk on and he says, it's all Newton's 3 laws. You can't get anything better. And I remember you asked him, you're like, well, maybe what if you could get something better? And he's like, it's impossible. We have not unified the field in physics. So you have the weak force, the strong force, and electromagnetism, and all of those have been reconciled. Gravity is out here hanging out by itself on an island. So you have the standard model, quantum field theory, and you have Einstein's theory of gravity, and the two are not reconcilable. It is my belief that if you were to reconcile them, you could create exotic propulsion, which I think any even reasonable theoretical physicist who's credentialed would say if you could reconcile them, that's possible.
1989 with Bob Lazar. I think a lot of people know who Bob Lazar is. I found out about Bob Lazar when I was in high school, when the curiosity really just struck me about what's out there in the black vacuum of space. You know what I'm talking about? And he's a guy who was a kind of a genius already, was tinkering and tackering with technology, a physicist and whatnot. He knows about the whole chemical periodic table and all that stuff. If you hear him talk, you know he knows his stuff, okay? And he used to make supercars with like jets in them, jet engines in them, like super high powered shit, you know what I'm saying? Speaking about that, that reminds me of this time I seen a guy who dropped like a Porsche engine inside a Volkswagen. Man, that was some crazy shit. When I say that car moved so powerful compared to the body, the shit fishtailed every single time he drove. But that's another story. But they try to take Bob Lazar's credentials away and say he's not like a prolific scientist or like a great mind or whatnot. They erased his records and everything. And he came with this conclusion, like they said in that podcast right there. And like he said himself years ago about element 115, which is some type of element that they've uncovered and they know what it is now. So that's just more proof and validity to the claims. And this is in 1989. About 50 something years after the Roswell incident with little black Chinamen. So by this time, could we have replicated the technology and did something with it? Yes, I believe so. I totally believe so. But the only thing that kind of gets in the way of that theory is supposedly scientists don't understand gravity all the way. They don't understand the law of gravity all the way, or the law of time. So that's another thing. But I do believe that we have the high-tech craft. It's really possible in today's day and age. I mean, we got lasers that could blow up ships and stuff, so I would not be surprised.
Documentary. We had this conversation, and I said I have to talk to him.
Yeah.
The document. There's been detractors. There's been a bunch of people that called bullshit on many of the things that you've said, but over time, many of the things that you talked about, even in the 80s, have proven to be true. Things that people said were not true were proven to be true. Element 115 was one of them, right?
Right. Element 115, the fuel they had, was stable. In other words, it didn't decay. It wasn't emitting radioactivity. When they synthesized 2 or 3 atoms of the 115, it did decay, and it